Gru versus Syndrome, two of the world's greatest villains, complete with some of the wildest tech and gadgets you'll ever see. Well, they're going head to head. But who's coming out on top here? Let's get into it. Gru was the son of one of the world's greatest villains, and so when he grew up, he decided to become a supervillain himself. With the help of his minions, Gru did become one of the best villains in the world. However, in a scheme to steal the moon, he adopted 3 young girls, and actually began to care for them and want to be a good dad. This even led him to joining the Anti-Villain League, where he met his wife and now works as one of their top agents. Now, a lot of Gru's feats come from his intelligence and all the gear and weapons he's created, but even outside of that, Gru is like a freak of nature. For starters, my man is able to easily pry through metal with his bare hands or even one-shot a shark. He's regularly shown off superhuman strength, and that's just made it look easy. Same thing with durability too. Gru has regularly taken attacks that would kill a normal person, and barely even been phased. Talking being hit with missiles or shot with flamethrowers, or mauled by sharks, or just simply taking punches from superhumans. He's fine after all of it. Basically, nothing is actually able to put Gru down for good. He'll just keep on coming back each and every time. The same with his speed and agility too. For being such a big guy and looking rather awkward, he's surprisingly fast and agile. He's actually able to dodge and outrun missiles that were locked onto him. Gru is easily superhuman. And then of course there's all of Gru's weapons and gadgets, like the freeze ray, which does basically exactly what you think it would, freeze people in a block of ice. Or the fart gun, which can instantly knock people out with some toxic gas. He's got heat rays, laser guns, the Gru mobile. The guy has all sorts of gear and weapons at his disposal. But probably the most dangerous one of all is the shrink ray. With that weapon, he can shrink anything down to the size of his hand. And I do mean anything, even the moon. Now, the bigger the object, the quicker the shrinking wears off. But how long do you really think you can last when you're fighting against someone twice or even 10 times your size? Buddy was Mr. Incredible's self-proclaimed #1 fan. But after Mr. Incredible refused to make him his sidekick, Incrediboy, Buddy started plotting his revenge. He was incredibly intelligent and sold off his inventions to foreign nations, using all that money to develop new prototype weaponized robots. These omnidroids would then be used in combat against all sorts of superheroes, testing and improving them until they were finally ready to be used against Mr. Incredible. Now Syndrome, after defeating the Incredibles in a fight, would send his new omnidroid off to the city with the eventual goal of masquerading as a hero, defeating the robot, and making himself rich and famous. Syndrome is, for the most part, just an average person. Sure, he's able to knock people around while he's flying, he can take a few attacks here and there, he's even dodged attacks at a fairly close range. But still, Syndrome is just a dude. He's definitely not a dang near superhuman like Gru is, not even close. However, what Syndrome lacks in brawn, he makes up for in brains. I mean, he invented those rocket boots when he was just a kid, and his inventions only got more and more impressive from there. As an adult, his new rocket boots allowed him to fly around incredibly fast, to the point where he could easily catch up with Mr. Incredible, even though he just threw Mr. Incredible like a mile away. He's also built some of the most impressive explosives. Just a small depth charge was able to create a massive explosion and send Mr. Incredible flying again. Then of course, there's his 0-point energy beams. They can instantly immobilize and ragdoll opponents and objects like it's nothing. And he's really not limited by what he can catch and suspend in the air, like he easily and instantly caught a flying 18-wheeler out of the air like it was nothing. Then of course, he was able to easily catch Mr. Incredible and ragdoll him all around, and really caught all of the Incredibles and held them there all at once. Made it look easy. Then, last but not least, we've got to talk about the omnidroids. All hand-built by Syndrome, these omnidroids have quite the body count, including superheroes whose powers range from atomic density manipulation, telepathy, psychic foresight, to elemental control. Then the ultimate robot easily beat Mr. Incredible. Of course, after Syndrome made some major modifications. So who's winning here? Who's going to come out on top? Well, in a hand-to-hand fight, that's no question. It's Gru. The guy is legit superhuman. He can knock out a shark with one punch. He can easily dodge missiles coming directly at him. And Gru is able to survive pretty much every single attack that comes his way. He would dominate Syndrome in a hand-to-hand fight. No question about it. But that's not really how they fight, and so let's throw weapons into the mix. And for Syndrome, well, his main go-to weapon is 0-point energy beam, and he'll definitely be able to catch Gru and throw him around. But he won't actually be able to put Gru down for good. Gru is just too tough. He's taken a whole lot worse attacks than this and kept on fighting. Same thing will happen here. And while Syndrome will be able to tag Gru, there also might come a point where Gru is able to dodge some of those blasts from Syndrome too. I mean, the guy has legit dodged rockets. It's not outside the realm of possibility. And as for Gru's weapons, well, he's got some weapons that can legit one-shot Syndrome, like his freeze ray, the fart gun. Both of those could theoretically one-shot. Even his more typical stuff, like the heat rays or laser guns. Then of course, there's the big guns, the Omnidroid. It's a massively powerful robot that's basically able to terrorize and destroy whole cities. It can take down Mr. Incredible. It's dang near indestructible, and the Omnidroid definitely has a knack for killing superheroes. It tore a path through the superhero community and killed a vast majority of them. However, if we're gonna give Syndrome the Omnidroid, well then you gotta give Gru the Shrink Ray, which pretty much completely negates the Omnidroid, because the Omnidroid just became a whole lot less scary when it's the size of your hand and can't even hurt you. And considering that Gru was able to shrink the moon, well, I don't think there's any doubt that he could shrink the Omnidroid either. End of the day, I think Gru is coming out on top here. He's way more capable when it actually comes to being in a fight than Syndrome. And while Syndrome has some impressive tech, so does Gru. Plus, Gru is no stranger to fighting against other villains with ridiculous tech and gadgets. Syndrome doesn't really have that same experience. Throw in that Gru is legit a superhuman, and I don't even think this is a question. Gru wins here. But what do y'all think? Sound off in the comments down below. I know you're gonna have thoughts and feelings on this one for sure. If you stuck around this long and made it to the end of the video, that's amazing. Thank you so much for watching and for supporting us. And if you want to go subscribe, well, go subscribe. You're going to see more videos like this one every single week. I'll see y'all then. I'll see y'all next time.